Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Savvy Cast. This is Jamie, and I'm so glad you're joining today, whether you're watching on YouTube or listening to the podcast. This is for my women, my girls, my fellow females, and I want to ask you a question. Do you feel like you're safety minded? Do you feel like the way you live your life every day, just your day to day, that you are aware and putting into practice behaviors or signals that make you more safe? Or do you consider yourself more on the trusting, oblivious side? That's sort of what we are going to talk about today, safety. And I have just listed 7 do's and 7 don'ts that I am just going to share with you as a friend, as a mother, as a grandmother, these things that I would tell my best friends if I were sitting around a table, that I would tell my daughters, because I feel like if I can ever share anything that's helpful in any way, whether it's a recipe that blesses your family or whether it's a safety tip that keeps you safe, then I will feel like I have used my platform in a way that has been a blessing. This was prompted by, I consider myself extremely aware and safety minded, and my personality is one that it's just easier for me to put into practice some of the things that I'm going to share with you all. Who I'm an Enneagram 8. If you have not ever listened to anything where I've shared that, eights are challengers. We don't have problems confronting, being bold. Some other, especially women, I realize it's harder. And some of the things that will help keep us safer might be more of a haul for some personalities. But I'm just going to go through all these, and I think I've listed 7 each, 7 don'ts and 7 do's. But I want to just give you a little nutshell of something that was shared with me last week that just really it made me think really hard. I need to share something with my girls, my women, my friends, because it rattled me. And if you live anywhere in the heart of Dixie, you definitely have heard about the murder that happened in Auburn a few weeks ago. A professor at the School of Veterinary Medicine, and Auburn is my alma mater. It is a lovely town. They call it the loveliest village on the plains. Almost everybody knows everybody. It's a lovely, calm, low crime area. And this murder of this lovely Auburn professor took place in a park that is considered extremely safe. So, in a nutshell, what my friend told me, and it rattled me, there was a friend whose friend, we'll just call her Jane, whose friend Jane went to this park, and this was the day that the murder had happened, but no one knew it. It had not been put in the paper, so she had no idea. Life was seemingly normal, but she went to this park and she had her dog, and there are 2 dog parks, and I guess they have the dogs separated by size. I'm not sure. But she's at the park, and there was a man who was just there. I don't believe he had a dog. He was just there sitting at the park. And her dog kept running up to the man, coming back to her. And she was embarrassed about her dog. And I think she just walked over, said, "I'm sorry," and was trying to go back. And the man struck up a conversation. And Jane immediately felt something in her gut. She was uncomfortable. She was nervous, but she continued this conversation with this man. And in this period of time where she was conversing with this stranger, there was another man, and I'm doing air quotes for those of you who are listening on the podcast, who she described as who she thought was a frat guy, which a frat guy is someone you would not feel at all. And I mean, you would consider it like someone like that would be like your son. I mean, typically frat guys are going to be friendly. They're students at Auburn. But she said she just noticed out of the corner of her eye that there was a frat guy. So she got her dog after she stopped this conversation that was making her uncomfortable the whole time. And she was getting ready to walk to her car, and she said, "The frat guy came over and said, "Would you like for me to walk you to your car, or can I walk you to your car?" And she said, I was a little uncertain about that, but she felt like it was what she needed to do. He walked her to her car. And then she said, and this is for those of you like me who believe that there are angels and that we do encounter them. Not sure, but she said she got in her car, locked her door, and then she looked to thank the frat guy. Nowhere to be seen. Nowhere to be seen. Totally disappeared. And this is a park where you see people around you. It's not like someone just disappears, but he disappeared. So later, probably very shortly after, it came out that there had been a murder at that park. It had been a couple of hours before Jane went to the park, and the man that Jane was conversing with was the man who murdered the woman. He was still at the park, and I do not know why the dog kept going to this man. I'm not going to say it, but I have a reason to believe that there might have something to do with scent or perception. But she ended up going to police headquarters and identifying the man who was arrested. And I guess he's still incarcerated. But the thought that she was at a park in broad daylight conversing for 20-ish minutes with a man who had probably an hour or so earlier killed someone at that same park is absolutely terrifying. I've not been able to get it out of my brain. I've thought about all women. I've thought about my daughters, my granddaughters, my friends, and all of you. And I'm like, what can I say that might just plant a little seed in helping someone be safer? So here goes. I'm going to start with the don'ts. I, I'm more of a don't person. I like to sort of start with what you don't need to do. So we're going to start with don'ts. And I'm going to preface this by saying I need to work on some of these. And this is one that I need to work on. Don't talk to strangers. I'm a talker and I talk to anyone, grocery store, dog park, whatever. And that's sort of how we are in the South. We are very conversational, we're very friendly, we're very warm, especially when we are in an environment where we feel safe. But if you really look at this, don't talk to strangers. I want to qualify this just a little bit. If there is a stranger that seems out of place, don't talk. And this is where our intuition has to kick in. If you're at a dog park or at a playground and it's in the middle of the day and there is a man, any man, just sitting there on a bench, does that seem normal to you? Most men are working. They're doing something. They're not sitting in a park in the middle of the day. So that right there, regardless of what they look like, that to me is always a warning signal. Now, if there is an elderly grandfather, he's obviously a grandfather, who's there with his grandchild or his children, that's a different story. We have intuition, we have gut instinct. But that is my number one. Even if your dog runs up, just get the dog, do not talk. Number two, don't go alone. And guys, this honestly applies to almost anywhere these days. Now, I'm not saying you have to have a friend go to the grocery or go to Costco. We do have to use reason. But when you especially have a dog, a baby, or children, and you're going somewhere where it's just a little more difficult to get around, you've got a dog on a leash, you've got a child in a stroller, you're not quite able to just run off if you need to, why not just take a friend, especially if it's a park where you're going to be sitting and letting your child or your dog play and enjoy the weather? Take a friend, because we do know that parks, places of public interest, gathering, there have been many incidents where, whether it's a pedophile or a murderer, that's where they go. Just think about it. Who is typically at a dog park or a playground? It's usually women, and usually they have children. And it may be that the perpetrator or the potential perpetrator is more interested in your child than you. But that just leads me to, if you are in one of these places, first of all, don't talk to the stranger. Number two, take someone, because there's strength in numbers. And I just say always go in twos, and especially these trails. We have a beautiful trail probably a mile from our home. It's wooded. It looks like you're in the mountains. It's hilly. I will not walk on that trail, and it's literally, you could probably throw a stone and you would hit the main drive that leads to all the houses in this area. Not doing it. If you are within a wooded area where no one can see you and no one can hear you, don't go alone. Don't go alone. And I've told that to my daughters. One of my daughters wants to come over here and stroll the baby at that park. And I'm like, not alone. You're not taking the baby alone on that trail. Got to go with someone else. Got to take someone. Okay. Number three. So, number one, don't talk to strangers. Number two, don't go alone. Park, mall, trail. Number three, don't wear headphones. You are totally cutting off one of your most protective senses if you are walking, jogging, biking with headphones. Now, if you are in your neighborhood, when I'm in my neighborhood, that might be another story. But what I do is I use my speakerphone on my iPhone, and if somebody passes by, I mute it to say hello. I'm not going to make it where I cannot hear anytime I'm out of my house. I'm just not. And I would encourage you to think about it. You can't hear if someone comes behind you. You can't hear anything except the podcast or the music. It's just not worth it to me. You can use your headphones at the gym or in your house on your treadmill. That's just a thought. Okay. And number four, don't be polite or friendly. Now, this is sort of like don't talk to strangers, but this one is more of the signals that you give off to strangers, especially those where you don't have a gut, a good feeling about. I'll give you an example. There, there was an incident where there was a very, I'm just going to say it, he was very suspect. I felt like he was creepy, and there's no other word. He was an ice cream man. I guess it's what you call them. He drove an ice cream truck in our neighborhood. And even my youngest daughter, she's like, he's so creepy, Mom. And I never gave her permission to run up to his truck, but she was that child that, didn't matter if I said it, she was going to do it. She was like 6. And there was an incident where he had his bell. He was in the neighborhood. I said, don't go. So she went. I looked outside. She was down by the truck. So I went out to grab her. And I wasn't polite. I wasn't friendly. I said, you do not come to this neighborhood again. Give me the number of whoever owns this truck. I called that person. I said, do not let this man come in our neighborhood. There had been other neighbors who had expressed that this man was not did not seem like on the up and up. So I wasn't the only one. That there had been discussion about him prior to my daughter's little interactions. So I was not going to go smile at him and say, come on, baby. I was not going to be polite or friendly. I was going to let him know, hey, I don't like you. I don't like your creepy truck. Don't come back. And then I did follow up, and I called the owner, and I made a stir, but he never came back. I'm a Southern Christian, and I love being polite. I love being cordial. I love meeting new people. But when there is a situation where either your gut or your children, something that they tell you, you don't have to worry about being friendly or polite. Whether it's the ice cream truck, whether it's a door to door, and people should not be going door to door anymore, but they still are for several different things. Whether it's a roofers are notorious for that. So don't be polite. Don't go to the door. Don't answer the door, or just get on the speakerphone, which I've done many times. We don't take unsolicited visitors. My husband said that he doesn't have time to talk to you. So just don't be polite. Don't worry about that. Be polite to the people you know, but you don't have to be polite to the others. Okay, here is the next one. Don't, when at all avoidable, go out at night. Night, you are at so much more risk. Most people at night are at dinner or they're at their child's sports arenas. They're getting ready for bed. If you're like Zane and I were getting ready for bed at about 8:30. If you can avoid it, do all of your running around, your errands, your shopping, get that done during the broad daylight because most undetected crime, I would think, would happen at night. So don't go, and this is just something, and this is easy for me because it's so entrenched in my head. Don't go below half full of a tank of gas. And I think I had listened to Nancy Grace. I'm not sure, but I think I heard this from her, but wherever I heard it, it stuck. There is nothing good about going below half of a tank of gas because you never know when you might be somewhere where you look up or you look at your gas meter and you have got to get to a gas station. You might be by yourself, you might have your kids with you, and there's nothing close or you can't get to it. And I'll give you an example. And this has taught me a lesson too. We had a snowmageddon, a horrible snowstorm that basically shut Birmingham down, and it was actually from Birmingham to Atlanta. It happened in a period. I left my dermatologist's office, and it was starting to come. Went and got my daughter from her elementary school. My other kids were at another campus, and by the time I got to the main road 20 minutes later to get to our house, the roads were blocked. It was bumper to bumper, and what would have taken me 10 minutes to get home, it took me 2 hours. And on that standstill traffic, I looked and I was in the red. And that was a situation where, okay, if I get out of this line that I've been in for an hour and a half to get gas. Number one, I don't know if I'll ever get back on. Number two, things were shutting down. I think the only thing that was open, because people were headed home, I think the only thing that was open was, of course, the wonderful Chick-fil-A. They were housing people who were stranded, whose cars had broken down. They were giving out chicken sandwiches. I think actually I was able to get a little bit of gas, but I remember thinking I will never, ever, ever, ever be in a situation where I'm trying to get somewhere fast or I'm in a bad situation, and to top it off, I don't have gas. So always don't go below half full, and then you'll always pretty much be okay. Number 7, don't be embarrassed. As I said, I'm an 8. You can't embarrass me, and I'm never embarrassed. Don't be embarrassed. If you have a sense about someone, or if someone is walking towards you, I will give you an example. There's a mall in Birmingham. Not many people go to it anymore because there has been crime. A lot of the stores have shut down. But every time you go, there are vendors selling, they're wanting to put lotion on your hands or sell you some sort of cream, and they are bold. They will approach you, ma'am, whatever. And I'm not embarrassed. I say, stop, no. And I look them in the eye, and they're very bold. They'll keep coming, and I'll say, lift up my finger. Did you hear me? No, get away. And sometimes you have to do it more than twice because they're so brazen. They're either trained that way or I don't know. But there are women who are so sweet and kind that that would embarrass them to act that way or, quote, act that way. But you can't be embarrassed. You can't be timid about confronting or fighting against something, even if it's just a gut. You don't it doesn't have to be confirmed. Act on your gut. Now I thought I had 7. I'm going to add another one. Do not hesitate. And this would fall under don't be embarrassed. Do not hesitate to call 911, not just for your behalf. If you see something on the interstate, if you see something in a parking lot, most people are not going to do that. I'm the first, like my phone is out and I'm pressing 911 within seconds of seeing. I've seen altercations. I've seen suspicious people. Immediately, I will call 911, and I'm not embarrassed. And it's a little bit of a thing. They're not always the quickest. They ask you a million questions. You have to give a description. You might have to stop where you can continue seeing where the person goes or the people go. It's an inconvenience. And sometimes you might feel like this is a little dramatic. Don't be embarrassed. Do not be embarrassed. We pay for 911. Our tax dollars pay for them. That's a service that they provide. And don't hesitate to use it because you never know whether you're saving someone's life or whether you're saving someone from a crime. I call if I see someone speeding and weaving in. So do not be embarrassed. Be bold. Okay. So now I'm going to get to the do's. And to me, this is probably the most important. Trust your gut. I believe God gave us, especially women, a gut, an instinct that we can trust almost 100% of the time. Now, we can, of course, be overly cautious maybe, but what is overly cautious? There's never like a net negative result of being overly cautious. Maybe you didn't become friends with a stranger that was really not dangerous and you thought he or she was. There's really no negative to being overly cautious and trusting your gut, but there are many, many negatives to not listening to your gut, to having that feeling in the pit of your stomach and ignoring it. There can always be the potential for a negative and a bad one. So trust your gut. Number two, scan the room. And it may not be a room, it may be a restaurant, it may be the space, whatever space or environment that you're walking into, whether you're walking in alone, whether you're walking in with a stroller, whether you're walking in with your dog. When I say scan, I mean see who is there. See every face. Don't just see figures of there's 10 people here and, I can't really pinpoint male, female. Take a very clear and concise observation of your surroundings. Okay. There's mostly mothers here with kids. There's a grandfather there. There's a man just sitting over there. And then you already have your senses directed toward a potential threat. So scan where you are. And in scanning where you are, if you have, it all sort of is connected. If your gut tells you, there's just something about this place right here, right now, I just don't have the best feeling that leave, leave. Maybe you've inconvenienced yourself for a few minutes. Maybe you've put a few miles on your car. Leave. If you have that gut instinct, leave. Zane and I were in we were in Texas, and we're in a very about to get into a very nice part of Dallas, but it's on the outskirts. But I said, Zane, I've got to run into Target. So Target. Now, who would think? But we stopped. Zane let me out, and I had not gotten through the second double doors. I could tell my gut said, this is not where you need to be, even though Zane is sitting outside waiting. So I immediately got back in the car. And your gut, there's no way to quantify your gut. Your gut it can be anything that any of your senses tell you, whether it's something you see, something that you hear, just any cues that you personally feel uncomfortable, take it and use it. So I got back in the car and Zane said, oh my goodness, I was trying to find a park. I said, no, we don't need to be here. So we left. Again, maybe a minor inconvenience because it took us probably 10 minutes. We had to drive to the truck. But when my gut said, this is not where I want to be, we just turned around, got in the car, and left. I could go to Target, another place, another time. Next, and this is one that I heard, let's see, I believe his name, he's unbelievable, and he was on Oprah years and years and years ago, Gavin DeBecker, and I want to say his book was called The Gift of Fear, and this is one of the things I think that was point that he drove home, he said, sit near a door or near an exit. And I always do that. I'm always looking for a place with an easy and quick exit. I will never sit in the back where you have to wade through people or rows of chairs or seats. Just think, if something were to happen, if there were to be an incident where you're in a room and things go wrong, you don't want to have to fight and crawl and climb or be trapped. So sit near a door or an exit. Okay. Do anytime you have a gut feeling that leaving a store or place of business and getting to your car, if you have any reason to feel like there's danger, ask, ask someone who works at that store to walk with you to the car and stay there until your groceries or your bags are in, your child is in if your child is with you, and that you are in with your car locked, especially in the South. Now, I may be wrong, it may be the same everywhere. I have never had someone tell me no. I have never had a store, whether it's a store manager, a clerk, never had anyone say no. They're happy to do it, especially if you say there's someone out there, he or she does not give me good vibes, there's something that's not right, or it's dark and my car is parked a little far away, there's not a straight light. You don't have to give reasons, but you can, but do ask for someone to go with you, especially if you sense danger and especially if it's at night. Always ask and you will almost always receive. Okay. Do This is probably one that is the maybe the hardest for some women, but do make a scene. You and I've heard this on, I don't know if it's Nancy Grace. I love Nancy Grace. I listen to and read so much of her stuff that it's probably all from a lot from her. But if you are in danger and someone is approaching you or coming at you in a way that you do not feel comfortable, your one of your biggest plans of escape, even before running, is to make a scene, look them in the eye, whether you scream. And I've done it before, I have started my car alarm in a parking deck and, s- I didn't say anything. This was a situation that it actually was not a danger, but I was very, very cautious. So I started my car alarm, did not stop it till I got in. What you want to do is show the potential person that's giving you a feeling of danger, that you are not afraid to scream, that you're not afraid to make your car beep. If you have an alarm, which I just ordered a personal alarm that it hits very high decibels and it has a strobe light, don't be afraid. Just, you don't have to wait until you know that there's danger. You need to make a scene, make noise, make your potential perpetrator know, I will make a scene. I am not going to be a victim. So that's one. Okay. And this last one, and this can be very, very hard, especially if you live or work or are staying at whether it's a hotel or a rental where your only option is a parking garage or a parking deck. I cannot stand those. I have been lost in parking decks so many times, and things can happen bad in a parking deck. Zane has had a potential incident happen in a parking deck. If at all possible, park somewhere outside of a parking deck in the open where there is light, where there are cameras. There may be cameras in parking decks, but I always try to park out in the open. And I always try, even though I like to get my steps in and sometimes park farther away to get my steps in places where maybe I'm not so comfortable. I'm going to park closer to the entrance and close to other people where there's a little more safety built right in as far as where your car is. So, oh, and there's one more. I don't think I had listed it. Do not be on your phone. And I'm guilty. I'll be scrolling or texting or whatever on the way to my car. Don't be on your phone. Don't be distracted, especially if you've got children and you're trying to get them to a car and you're trying to answer a text and you've got all of this that has to happen for you to get everyone in, door locked and gone. Just business at hand. Leave, get everybody in the car, lock it, and then you can do all your texting or responding. So I know a lot of this may seem elementary. I do hope, though, if there's one area maybe where you are falling short, and there's several where I have convicted myself to do better, then it will be worth it. I would love to hear from any of you who possibly have found yourself in danger and put into practice some of these things that maybe saved you and you found out after the fact. I would love to hear from you. Always reach out. Always let me hear your thoughts, your comments. And I hope this has provided value. I'm so grateful to all of you who watch or listen. And until next time, you have a fabulous rest of your day.